This is Hannah. It's a short haircut, but it's got a lot of varying lengths in it. There's techniques like undercutting, overcutting, cutting into the hair, done with a razor, and then just simplified with the scissors. Versatility in this haircut is the ultimate. I want to put it up, back, slick, whatever she wants to do, it's got to do that. So I hope you enjoy this haircut. Hannah was interesting because she had this great little haircut, and you know, she's very deceiving as far as her look. She looks very soft and subtle there, but when she came in, she had this crazy sort of punk rock outfit on. So right there, I knew that I had to do a haircut that would allow, obviously, something quite soft, but then when she wanted to, it could be very strong, very aggressive, and with the use of products, like all our haircuts, they've got that versatility. What I'm doing here is really the final check. That's a tattoo, it's not actually her hair on her neck. I don't know why people would put a line on their neck or whatever that is. But anyway, checking, because I'm going to graduate through here, I'm just checking the hairline, making sure that when I do get to that point, I'm not going to be stuck, that I don't have enough hair for the haircut I want to do. And just generally making sure that I've got all the information that will allow me to go through and do the haircut that I envision, and then let it take its own thing. Just doing a quick before here, creating a Polaroid. Polaroids are amazing things to have in the salon because they're a great way to keep a reference. You got an iPad, take an iPad photograph, but having visual references of your clients, your models, very, very important. And even if you give it to them at the end, they can see their before and what you've done with a great haircut. If I would just get out of the way, that'd be better. So, I'm going to dampen her down. We use the Bel Air shampoo and conditioner just to get the hair nice and soft, but a little bit of smoothing because she had a tiny bit of frizz from some old colour. But obviously that's gone because we used the shampoo and conditioner. And you'll see that that's a very small bottle of one. When I did this haircut, we still didn't have the full finished products, and you know, I could hide it and say, oh, just show the spray, but why? You know, we want to be as honest as possible. So it is the right product, it's just in a tester. And with all the films that we make, you know, I want to test my products to the limit and see how far it'll go. You know, do they break? What point don't they work? Is too much? Where is that point? So the more information we get, the easier it is for you, because we can identify the real meaning and quality of the products. So just getting a dampened down, not too wet, because I'm going to use the razor and a scissor, and you'll hear it all the time from me. I want to cut and get a reaction, then I react to what's going on, and can be very, very precise. So when we talk about precision, it's really being precise about how I'm moving through the haircut, my sectioning. You know, I still, you know, I'm perceived as, you know, using a razor, quite aggressive, you know, long strokes, sometimes hard to follow. But for me, the sectioning is where the precision is. And then obviously how precise you are with the end result. You know, it's not measuring hair, it's not doing math on haircuts, but really what is the end look? Because that's, you know, that's the name of the game. You know, that's the quality right there. So finishing off with the one. So here we go. I'm going to take the razor and take a section from the front hairline back to, curved section back to right in the middle of the ear. And I want to leave a nice sideburn here, so I'm going to work above it, and the razor is what's going to do that for me. You can see the section there, it just works back. I'll sort of cut in a little bit of a length here to give myself a guide, working from the back to the front. Now the length of the section really depends on who you're cutting, but the way that the whole sideburn works is very cool for me, because it allows me to have the sideburn, but immediately above it, I want to encourage movement, and you'll see that in a second. So just finishing off here, just clean that up, and My next section, other great things about sideburns, you can tuck it away. I think that's sexier than sometimes, you know, such a hard line, unless it's a really super short haircut. But for her, I wanted to have that ability that the hair could move back up and over the ear and then drop down and have that shape. So my next section just works right above that. So now here's the real bit. We're taking that section above our first section, and we're going to go and working short right above that, working back from the hairline to above the ear. Now what that does is it allows that short piece over the top to move back, create the illusion of short, but then I've got that sideburn, and it's a total disconnection, but because we're using a razor, the stroke gives the illusion of the blend. I'm going to pick up the scissors here and just take that length down a little bit more solid, and just chopping that out. Now I've got that fluid sort of movement from the recession working above the ear, and then that nice sideburn drops out, and that's pretty cool. That works really well, because before we'd always have to graduate that or do a disconnection that was too obvious, but with the razor it can be very subtle, you know, because so having something that sort of makes the hair look soft and comfortable, you know, it's very important, even to like a punk rock sort of haircut. Here we're going to take a section right above the ear and just cut that quite short, almost like an undercut. So we've already got 3 or 4 different things going on, and I haven't even finished the sideburn. But that's so important. The detail in these short haircuts is everything. You know, I can go through and chop through the rest of the hair, but the detail setting these haircuts up, that's what it's all about. And that's what makes it special. It makes us specialist hairdressers, where we actually can calculate how things are moving. We're cutting them to more specific lengths, because the razor has that ability to create the softness on the ends that you get that blend. Here I'm going in and sort of chopping into the hair a little bit, because I've moved well above the ear. I have to start to increase and accelerate the texture, and might as well just blend in this front bit. It's kind of annoying me. You know, as I go through haircuts, I want to see, almost as I said before, the reaction to what I'm doing. You know, I need the haircut to start to build, because remember, your audience is your client sitting in front of you. Working right above that last section, starting to cut in those shorter lines through the recession and through that parting we created. You can see her, she's getting quite comfortable there, kind of enjoying the haircut. And you can always tell if somebody's enjoying getting a haircut or whether they're freaking out. You know, and again, you have to adjust and make sure they're comfortable. But there you see it. You know, we're going to highlight that a little bit later. But let's move into the back. I want to create something quite flat there, but immediately build up weight. Because I want the haircut to be almost like spiky or flat, you know, have texture. All of those things are part of the consultation. They're part of, you know, when you saw me brushing through the hair. And here we're going to use the flat of the blade. And excuse my hand here, but we just want to flat and release the weight through the mid lens, and just go through and take off all that extra little fluffy hair right under the hairline. And same again, going through, and I'm working from the center out here. So I've got that center short piece, try to keep length and weight right behind the ear. You can see that there. So the first one, second one again, flat of the blade. Not as much stroke, because I do want to keep the weight there. I'm going to repeat this, or repeat the sectioning, not repeat the haircut or the technique, because every one you see is different. Working from the center out, maintaining the weight on the sides. Here we go. Same again. Center. Working out to the sides. So we start to create that squareness through there that really didn't exist before. So, you know, when you build up and create illusion with weight, it's very important, very cool thing to do. You know, it's not a new thing, absolutely not, but it's how you control it, and the way we kind of play with the techniques and abuse them and take them to the next level. That's what modern hairdressing is all about. Taking classic ideas and stretching them into the future and whatever you need. And obviously studying our craft and practicing is so important to be able to go to the salon, go on set and have your way with the hair. You know, whether it's with products, it's cutting, you know, whatever you want. When you turn up to play, the game's ready. You're on. And you see here, actually going to use that little section. You see the subsection in the center, flatten the blade, create my outside line, a little bit softer. Again, if I take that weight out, the hairline's going to sit the way it wants. You know, I'm not forcing it. It's going to move, and then I adjust and work right above it. So I'm not trying to squeeze the hair into a shape and then, you know, it walks out and blows into something else. I'm working with the way the hair really wants to work, and being aware that the hairline's going to do what it wants, whether I force it or not, it's going to go there eventually. So work with it. As we work up through the center, still with the flat of the blade, you know, I'm creating a graduation with the razor, but not a pretty graduation. It's a little bit more less thoughtful, because I want the texture there. I want the build up, and I want the separation. You know, it's not always going to lay flat, and if it was, I wouldn't cut it like that. But I know the way I'm going to push this hair around, I can get away with this type of movement with the blade. So it's really, you know, these haircuts. This haircut works for Hannah. You know, you could copy it and get away with it on a couple of people, but the way I'd like you to work is that you take the idea that every section is special. It doesn't always relate to the last one. It works for where you're going with the haircut. You know where you're going, you know, so you take the techniques and the idea that you control weight, you control movement, you control the texture, then you can control your haircuts, and it's a fantastic place to be. I'm going to go and get the one, dampen the hair down. I always think, you know, that my clients are in a movie or something. The mirror is a camera, and, you know, every time they look in it, their hair looks amazing, you know, so it can never be dry, it can never be just fuzzy or, you know, hanging in their face. You know, we have to control everything about what we're doing, you know, even though we're not cutting the other side, it has to look amazing. You know, we're using this PVC, we made these capes with it so we could see, and you can see, you know, the dress underneath, and, you know, it's not a cape, and yeah, you got to use capes, but for these purposes, it's like, you know, we want to show as much as possible, and the idea that you look a bit harder. Just took that first section, cutting in the line, you know, very simple, same section from the front to the back, cutting the short piece right above it. You know, it's probably at least 1.5 inches difference. I'm not even trying to blend it. The blend is because of the stroke of the razor. That's what's allowing it to push over and blend through. And the same here, working through with the flat of the blade, right through, almost curving down to the ear. You know, years ago, I would have told you never to use the flat of the blade except for in the nape, but that was 20 years ago. We live, we work differently, and we evolve. You know, we can't be doing the same haircuts we did 20 years ago, 5 years ago. You know, the only similarity is that haircuts look amazing. That's all. You know, and that's how we work. Is that we can't do an old technique just because we learned it because it doesn't work anymore. You know, we can take the idea, but with a little change in the wrist or the movement, it becomes a new haircut. So I just want to come back and work from the side and show you a better angle there, just into the back. I'm trying to keep that corner there. Well, I'm not trying, I have to. So it's very important that I take the weight and the length a little bit shorter above it, so that the corner I do have becomes as important as it has to be. But it can't be a triangular piece of hair just hanging behind the ear. It has to have that movement, the ability to stand on end or lay flat. So it's this type of client, you know, these models, these kids, this is so great to work with them because you get to be a little bit more courageous, because, you know, who's going to pick their hair up and say it's not even? Not them. You know, maybe other hairdressers because they're so bitter and twisted. But the kids, you know, people look at their hair as what am I looking at, and does it look good? So it's the beauty of how we work these days is really being able to accomplish anything we set out to do. You know, whether it's a young kid, you know, a 90-year-old lady, it doesn't matter. You know, you can tackle anything. And I think that's something for me is when I realised that I was a decent hairdresser because I could do a lot of different things. As I move up the side here, you see me going in with a point, and then I go in with the flat of the blade because I just want to disrupt the texture as much as possible. I know instinctively after 30 years of cutting hair that it's about the same, you know, all over, you know, and I wouldn't tell people to do this, you know, just starting their career. You know, I would tell people to do it who are accomplished in the type of hair cutting that's classic, like bobs and graduation with scissors, with a razor, before you do all this, because if you don't know why you're doing it, don't do it. If you don't know why you're using a razor, just use your scissors. But find out. Don't say, oh, well, that's not for me, I don't understand it. Go and find out why you don't want to use it, or why you do. But don't just sit there like, blah, don't do this, because it's just not cool. So, working, looking, adjusting. You see me here. You can see that little bit of weight I got to get rid of. So it's right there with the point, just working underneath. And that's cool. You see me almost like I'm doing a old school highlights there with a telecom, but I'm using a razor just to go in and break into parts. And, you know, again, it functions. That's what I do. Everything I work with, it has to function. If it's just fun, then, you know, I'd rather go home and do a collage or something for fun. Cutting hair, you have to be just right there. You have to be present. So using my brush here, combing through it, or brushing through. You can't comb with a brush. And where are we? What do we have to do next? I think that looks pretty cool. You know, it's got a little break in it. It's not perfect, but it's not, you know, it's not bad. I think that it's perfect for what she is, what I need from this haircut. Could I cut a straight line in there? Yeah, but could I, you know, why would I? I think that's exactly what I set out to do, and I'm quite happy with that. So clean her off, and then get ready for my next part. Okay, now I'm going to use the scissors, and what I want to do is just freehand cut from the curve of the head down into the nape, and I want to use the one blade flat on the head and go through and just cut in these lines, and you'll see the effect. It just gives me a little bit more of a break in the hair, and because one of the blades is leaning on the skull, we just get that sort of break that the razor can't do. You know, nothing else can do it. I could pick up and cut it in a square line, you know, in a section like a layer, but it'd be a layer, you know. And this way, this type of the cutting like that, the freehand just lends itself well to the rest of the haircut and the way I've built it up. So back to the razor, just going to take that part really short through the underneath at the hairline. I'm a big fan of sort of undercutting things as well, and they're just right over the top, using the flat of the blade. But undercutting around the hairline stops the hairline dictating too much of what's going on. I can drop things over the top, and you know, and at the same time, I'll entertain a hairline and challenge it and work with it to get it where I want. But like in this case, I just don't need it. It's just going to interfere and create lines, weight where I don't want it. So just take it down and again disconnect it. And because you're using a razor, it's still quite soft, and then everything over the top you've been cutting with a razor, so you have that soft on soft, and you've got the texture blend, which is that's what makes it, you know. So we're ending up with this little sort of crop, gamine crop, that's just got so much more to it, where because it's got all these different types of lengths, and we're going to sort of exploit the lengths in a second. Cleaning up, a little bit of undercut there, and now I want to work through into the top and start to connect the sides with the top, just finish off on that back end there, and as we start to lift onto the top, right at the crown, we'll see it right here. We'll bring it right round. Having a look, and we're working and we're cutting into the hair and creating these lengths that support the longer length, because I want the hair to be spiky at some point, even though it's quite long on top. So the shorter pieces you see right there working to the longer, that's really like scaffolding. It's going to support all those lengths, and we've got this brilliant sort of short outline sort of finding its own way now. Now we've got to do the inside. I mean, right there, that's an amazing little haircut in itself. But is it enough? Yeah. Is it enough for us? Absolutely not. You know, we've got the green light here. We're going to take it all the way. When you get an opportunity to have a client that you can really, really push, you push. If it's not, don't push someone who's not ready. It's just aggro. So you see me here going in, short pieces, working up to the length. So there, right there, you see that. Cutting in. Lots of different lengths going on, and a very sort of spiky feel to it. And that's all from the razor. And just the effects you can get with working through the mid lengths to the ends. We've still got a lot of hair here, but it looks quite short, which is lovely. Our texture lends itself well. Going through support around the crown. Okay, I've got to go back to the scissors here because I don't want it too wispy on the ends. You know, I've got my support in with the razor. Now, clunk, click, just chopping them in. Getting rid of anything that's just too wispy. And that was it, 2 sections, just enough. It's funny when you watch your haircuts and you look back at them. It's something I think we should do more often. I mean, every professional football team watches their play-by-play the same day, but when you get to watch your haircuts, it's fantastic because it's like, oh, just 2. So I'm back with the scissors, just curving out the front, just finishing off, a little chippy chop in the front. That's a weird thing to say, chippy chop. It's alright though. Really just squaring off some of those little ends again as we did on the top, because I want it to be, and you can see this haircut really come to life. It's very simple shape, but it's just the amount of thought and those little tiny things and techniques that we put into it just allows the versatility, as you'll see later on when we start to push it around. You know, the hair will move back really well, it will sit down. I think she just yawned. So just breaking up so it's a little bit more irregular, and the illusion of the lines there, that's all I need, you know. And I'll finish off the top. Finishing, this is really me checking my haircut, you know, finding little bits, what else is to be done, bit of freehand cutting there. And every time I do a haircut, it's like you know, they change every time, and we react to what we need. And that's amazing about cutting hair, is that you can do that. You can choose, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But when you do anything, make sure there's a result. You know, here it's just to get, again, a little bit of support, because when I blow this up, it's going to have that texture that will support all the lengths. So the freehand is just creating those shorter pieces, and then just pushing it back. Got a nice amount of weight with that sideburn. You can see our first section there above the top just sits right over the top, so it looks like a little short haircut. And very, very pretty. A little bit more through the top. And even tucking the sides back just gives it a whole different look. I mean, that's amazing. That alone, you know, just by tucking the sides, that you've got a completely different look. But it doesn't look like just push back. It looks like we cut our hair into a short little sort of bowl cut, little square thing. It's got that nice round top on it. Just clean her off there. So we're going to go and get some jackpot in my hands here and start to get some product in there. You know, we've got the shampoo and conditioner, but now I've got to see really what this haircut can do. I'm going to start and keep something quite small, but as I'm putting the products in, again, I can't emphasize enough that we're checking our haircut. We're looking, really making sure that everything and more is in there, because it's all about exploring with the products. Control. Haircuts will do a lot with what we put in. You know, we freehand cut them, we razor cut them, we put in support. But when you put products in, the game changes completely. You can do anything, well, whatever you want, you know, within the limitations of the product. But here with the jackpot, you know, I'm just moving it around, pushing it back, getting it awkward, getting it good, but I'm looking at it. I'm saying, you know, even is this the right product? Because it's not too late to say, this isn't going to be the one. You know, do we do a change? You know, and that's okay as well, because we are constantly looking at, and you know, nothing's fixed until we say this is perfect. And that's the beauty of the product line, is that we've got a range, small range, but enough to get what you need, because it gets us what we need. So I'm going to dry it, and I'm going to use the flat iron a little bit just to melt the product into the hair a bit, and create grip. I mean, even though it's jackpot, it's quite strong. The holds there, I still need it to be soft, you know, because right now she's got very little makeup on. You know, we're going to do a makeup change later, but I'm working to suit what's right in front of me, you know, and that's very, very important. You know, the hair moves, it's still a little bit fluffy. You know, I could rub it and get it bigger. You know, there's a lot of places I can go here. Just flatten it with my hands, but for the first kind of look, I want to get that childlike sort of bob, like, you know, her mum cut it maybe 100 years ago, you know. But obviously mine is amazing because it's 100 years later, and it costs hundreds of dollars more. Anyway, fingers, you see me all the time, guys. I'm using my hands. I want to feel the hair. I'm not going to the brush right away. Here we go. Brushing the product into the hair, moving it around, and just adjusting. So now we've gone through it, just using the flat iron, just bending hair a little bit, tiny little iron, and just pushing the product into the hair. You see a little bit of steam coming off of it. It's cool. As long as you explain to your client it's just the moisture in the hair, and it's not bad for the hair because we'll get so much protection in one and in all of the products. So I just want to polish the hair a little bit more. So I just want to finish. You can see the shape there. It's got that nice movement above the ear. It's got the sideburn, quite heavy. There's my corner I kept by cutting from the center back to behind the ear. Shape's lovely, you know. It's works perfect for her because it's also got the versatility that she can push this stuff around using it. I'm going to use some different products later, but for now, just want to show you what happens when you use those techniques. You know, disconnection, using the razor, pushing into the hair. So let's look through. I'm just going to keep this film rolling. I'm putting products in and just varying the looks, and you see the performance. We just had one camera running here, so but you can get the idea just to see how it looks and how we vary it before we start shooting it. So just going to changing the hair every time. I mean, for photography on set, we're changing the hair 5-6 times a day, so products have to do that, and that's what we're doing here. We're seeing performance of products, performance of my haircut, you know, just everything, and pushing it to the limit. Many styles coming out of this little haircut, and that's really, to be honest, that's why I get into hairdressing. You know, I didn't know why, but when I look back, just being able to do all this kind of stuff, it's exciting and well worth the investment in time to practice, to study, and fail, succeed. I had some products in there, a little bit of tinsel. It's pushing it through. Looks fantastic. I mean, she looks amazing. That's the name of the game. You know, people look amazing. A little bit of outer space there. Product after product after product. Keep going. They layer. They work. We're done.